Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We're here today with our first Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. I hope you and your loved ones are doing well, that you're having a great start to this new year. I guess we are getting towards the end of January, so I don't know that it's appropriate that we continue to keep saying Happy New Year, but I hope it's been a great start to the year. I hope you've gotten started on your own 12-week year and that you're excited for all that these next 12 months can bring us. So always let me know again how my team and I can help. You can leave questions at cabralsupportgroup.com. And instead of waiting the 12 weeks to get your answer here, which I'm always happy to do, you can pretty much get same day answers there as well. So let's get started. Let's see what the first question is today. On these shows, of course, we answer questions from our community every Saturday and Sunday. We try to get to a half a dozen each day. Okay, so the first one is from Crystal. Let's see what Crystal is saying. Again, I don't do any prep work for the show, so my job is to give you, a second opinion. That's really what it's all about. It's to be able to teach you, I think from an underlying foundational based level, that you have options, that there's always an underlying root cause answer, and that you can heal. Like, that's the truth. And so we just need to start to go deeper to give you different ways of looking at that, and that's what I hope to do on the show. All right, so Crystal says, hello, my question for you is about my 13-year-old daughter. She's had trouble with her body for 3 years now. She used to be flexible, active, normal kid. In 12 of 2018, she got very sick with something similar to mono. Fever, lots of mouth sores for about a week, then super tired for over a month, then constant cold sores for 5 months. In January of 20, she started having constant lower back pain and her back seems to be locked up. She can't even reach her knees. She has seen lots of doctors with almost no answers. She was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, but it is not what is causing her problems. She did the big five, but there weren't any obvious answers. We're now looking at an AMPS diagnosis. Can you give any direction on healing, fixing AMPS? Thank you. Okay, so understood. Appreciate where you're coming from. Of course, I want to do my best to help, especially with children. So AMPS is typically referred to as Amplified Musculoskeletal Pain Syndrome. Whenever you see the word syndrome and you just see the words muscular pain before it, it's like an IBS diagnosis, right? So you have irritable bowel syndrome. That doesn't tell you anything. All it tells you is that your bowels are irritable, of course. All AMPS tells you is that your muscles are in pain. That's all that it tells you. Inflammation is obviously a big part of it, but conventional medicine has no answer nor treatment protocol. So what we want to look at is this, is that many children and adults get what is called Epstein-Barr virus, or they get a virus like a herpes-based virus. When that virus enters the body, it can actually begin to wipe out much of the mitochondria. So Crystal, I want you to look into something called myalgic encephalomyelitis. And essentially, again, like that's just another name for a disease. But what it does, a child or adult will feel like they have flu-like symptoms, fatigue-based symptoms, inflammation, fibromyalgia, inflexibility from all this inflammation. And that's because if your mitochondria are not functioning properly, you are not able to squelch inflammation. So the goal is to begin to work the process of rebuilding those mitochondria. I have lots of free shows on ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis. I talk about it quite in depth in the IHP, Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, and it's really working from the ground up. So it's a daily foundational protocol in terms of anti-inflammatory diet, walking to get the body moving, self-massage, like foam rolling, things like that, oxygenation, so we're getting a little bit more cardio. I teach that in the graduated exercise protocol, and it's rebuilding the mitochondria. Red light can be very helpful as well. So there's so much that you can do, but for me, again, I'm not giving you any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical diagnosis, or medical cures. My job is to get you to look elsewhere, rebuilding the mitochondria, and balancing those healthy levels of inflammation is my first place to go. If you ran a minerals and metals test, which is my highest recommendation, I'd find it hard to believe you don't see heavy metals or imbalanced electrolytes on that, maybe even low levels of zinc too, which happens. So again, just make sure we're working the process, and you'll get there, Crystal, no doubt about it. I got there. I had a lot of these issues as well. So there is hope. Samantha's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Is peri-menopause belly something we can get rid of, or is it just something we'll have to live with for the rest of our lives? I'm a very healthy and active in the late 40s and noticing that my belly fat is increasing more and more. I wear a continuous glucose monitor. I have normal sugar, fast for 16 hours a day, lift weights 5 times a week. Still nothing helps. I don't have to measure my female hormones to know that they are declining, because that's inevitable with age. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks a million. Yeah, the number one thing that you can do, I have a free video on this, and of course, yes, it's reversible. There's no way that you need to get or gain belly fat during menopause. So let me just see if I can find it. StephenCabral.com/bioregulatory medicine, BMI maybe. Let's see if BMI is it. No, I think it's, no, it's not BMI. Bioregulatory, maybe it's BRMI. My team would know. I have a webinar completely free just on how cortisol and imbalanced female hormones leads to weight gain. And so I wish I could find that for you. But I know that we'll be able to, so my team will help. Just email in or just write in at cabralsupportgroup.com. But essentially, I'll give you the short version of it, and then you can watch the half-hour webinar, is that you can get elevated levels of cortisol, especially with your 16 hours of fasting, especially with you lifting 5 times a week, probably following maybe even a low-carb diet. So it's not necessarily saying those are bad, but we can get elevated levels of cortisol. We can get even lower levels of progesterone, normal to lower levels of estrogen as they're declining, and we can have something called estrogen dominance. I would love you to listen to my previous podcast on estrogen dominance. I have a whole course in this, by the way, too. If you really want to go in depth, you can go to stephencabral.com/courses. Check out the one on female hormones. I mean, I detail everything from start to finish, all the different things that can go wrong with female hormones. And typically, thyroid can become lower as well. So it's not just looking at estrogen, it's also looking at cortisol. Not just looking at blood sugar, it's looking at thyroid as well. So if there's one lab that you would run, 100%, I would run the stress, mood, and metabolism. You can look at the course that I did, and you can also get the free webinar that I did as well. All right? But yes, that is absolutely reversible. Because remember, cortisol adds belly fat even if you don't have elevated levels of blood sugar. So just keep that in mind with inflammation. Anonymous is up next. I wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the knowledge you share with us. It has truly changed my life. A few weeks ago, I was down to like 5 foods. I reacted to everything, including multivitamins, L-glutamine, herbs, even the DNS shake. I was starting to lose hope until I realized that most of my issues with salicylates and histamines could be partly due to nutrient deficiencies. I started taking the Equilife multivitamin pills, and the same day I was able to have a smoothie with the herbs, veggies, and fruits that I had missed so much because I didn't have salicylates, because I couldn't have salicylates. I can now also use the L-glutamine without getting depressive symptoms, so I am using it to heal my gut lining, which is really damaged. Feeling hopeful once again. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you, Anonymous. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you writing in and sharing your success story. I think it's fantastic. Try to share that in the Cabral support group as well, because people need to hear this. And I've been doing a lot more kind of case studies, even this week, how it is the deficiencies that is not allowing people to remove things like oxalates or to make neurotransmitters, right? The B6, the folate, the copper, the vitamin C, the iron that I've been talking about are so important. So I'm really happy that you were able to use the Equilife Daily Activated Multi and then begin to use the other herbs and things that you weren't able to before. Remember, there's always an answer, everybody. So I appreciate you. And Anonymous, thank you for writing in. We appreciate you. And I'm glad you got those results. Angela's up next. And by the way, all these protocols, labs, products are at stephencabral.com/shop. Never feel an obligation that you need to use them with us. You can always work with an integrative health practitioner or your local naturopathic doctor. That's obviously great. All right, Angela says, my twin boys and I all came down with the flu. We're going on 8 days now with fevers around 101 to 103. On average, got as high as maybe 105, 106 with one child. I took them to see a doctor who knows that antibiotics are a last resort with us. The doctor was okay with waiting until this Saturday, 7 days into the symptoms. So when we were still spiking in fever on Saturday, I bit the bullet and I had to start on antibiotics. The doctor says that anything over 100.4 is considered a fever high enough for antibiotics. I thought I heard you say that for your kids, you don't really do much until they hit 104. Is that right? I also know that we are on the antibiotics. What can we do afterwards to help with our gut? I was in the middle of my last month of the CBO. Do you suggest I start over? All right. So the part of the issue is that you wrote in on November 6th. Today's the end of January. Luckily, we have caught up a little bit. That puts us as just like 7 weeks behind, which is great. We were at 12 weeks. What I want to share with you is this. So again, I can't provide you with any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical diagnosis, or medical cures. But I can tell you what I do. So the thing is, if you get a cold or flu or virus or whatever it is, keep in mind the flu is a virus. So antibiotics help bacteria. So unless you had a bacterial infection, How is the antibiotic helping the virus? So again, you can look this up. You don't need me to you don't have to trust me alone. That's okay. How do antibiotics help the virus? Unless there was a secondary infection, and maybe it wasn't the flu, that's a different story, right? Here's the thing. You can't do nothing though, right? And I'm not saying, Angela, that you did this. The protocol that I use when I get sick or I get a virus is at stephencabral.com/the-protocol. That's what I do. I'm not telling you to do it, but it's exactly what I do, because you do have to use something, right? Conventional medicine or natural, right? So that's your choice. I also have a children's one, and I don't know where that link is. Let's see if I can find it right now. Stephen Cabral. This is what I use with my daughters. Again, I just open source everything that I do. And most of the children's protocol is nothing to do with Equalife. So again, you can always use any company you feel you trust. I don't see it there. Let's see if it's children protocol. Yes. So it is stephencabral.com/children-protocol. Yep, that's exactly what it is. And it's all updated. Okay. So really, really simple, really straightforward. You don't have to do all of it, but I give you exactly what I did, even with my daughter that had swollen tonsils, and they said she needs to have them removed, and I said she's not having them removed unless it's a last resort. So in terms of fever, if my daughters get to 103, we lower the fever, but we don't use antibiotics. Okay, so we might use an ibuprofen or something like that. Very, very infrequently, once every, I don't even know. Maybe they've used it twice, 3 times in their life, maximum, right? So I have 2 daughters. They're 8 and 10 years old. And so that's that. And then for myself, if it gets up to 104, near 105, then I'll use something if I need to. But I've only had a fever I've only had a high fever like that twice since I was 27 years old. I can literally remember once with COVID. And then before that at 27, I had, who knows, whatever virus I had that was terrible. And so that's that. So that's what we do. And again, all of that's open source. So if you are taking antibiotics, I have a whole podcast on that as well. And you're just using what's called the CBO finisher. And you want to use that while you're taking antibiotics, even though it will kill some of the probiotics. And you want to take it for at least 4 weeks after. So you can find that at stephencabral.com/shop. And then just type in CBO finisher and you will find that. All right, can we do one more question? We can, excellent. So this one's from Megan. Megan says, hi, I've been struggling after the birth. And by the way, Angela, I just want to let you know, you do the best you can as a parent. That's it. Like you're literally doing the best you can. And I don't fault you at all for saying, okay, I'm going to take antibiotics. That's what the doctor said after 7 days. That's a long time. I totally get it. I totally understand. And so all we're doing is doing the best we can at this moment, making sure our children are safe. And that's great. And then maybe next time we're saying, okay, well, what else can we do? And you know that you always have antibiotics as a last resort if you need them, okay? Because I'm not telling anybody not to use them. They can be life-saving, right? If you have a bacterial infection, you very well may need them. And so I'm not saying that you should never use them. And if you do, then you know how to fix that gut to make sure it doesn't cause bigger issues. Oh, and then you said about the CBO protocol. Well, if you're bloating, gas, and all those things come back, you may have to start over from the beginning. If not, just pick up with month 3 and do your CBO finisher. Okay, Megan's up next and last. Megan says, hi, I've been struggling after the birth of my second son. It was my second C-section in 14 months and my body was wrecked. I have a vaginal yeast infection I cannot get rid of, as well as stomach ulcers from taking too much ibuprofen and Tylenol. I'm at a loss on what to do and if I should continue taking Pepsid 2 times a day. I've been drinking aloe water that I juice. How can I go about this and what's going on? Okay, so happy to help with this as well. And there's a few, I'm going to give you start to finish everything you can do. So I have a free podcast at stephencabral.com/podcast. It's the Cabral concept, but I broke it down. If you scroll through the images at the top, there's a category basically for everything. One's on digestion. So you want to look at the one on digestion and you can listen to all those if you want. If you want a crash course on how to fix your digestion, go to stephencabral.com/courses. Click on the digestion one. You can take that and in 4.5 hours, trust me, it will be the equivalent to reading a year's worth of books of like 12 books for the year. Like 100%. It will tell you exactly what to do. Okay, the next way, you could purchase the gut bundle. Food sensitivities, candida, yeast, bacteria, H. pylori, parasites, right? So that's called the gut bundle. That's at stephencabral.com/labs or just stephencabral.com/shop and just type in gut bundle. Those are all 3 labs. If you're only going to run one, I would run the bacteria and parasite stool test. Okay, and then if you didn't want to do any of those things, and you just said, hey, what can I do that helps the majority of people? We're going to need to do the CBO protocol, but we just have to make sure that you're not nursing, breastfeeding right at this moment. So we would probably do the 21-day functional medicine detox, to be honest with you, and then we would do the CBO protocol, and that's what we would do, all right? And so that's exactly what we would do. So now you have all the different steps of all the different choices that you can make, and whatever seems to be the right fit for you, then that is the best way to do it. And you can always do one-on-one coaching. You can do that with an integrative health practitioner at integrativehealthpractitioner.org, or you can do it with our team as well at equa.life. So always the choice of yours, whatever works for you. We're just here to help and give you that second opinion and just get you to know, again, that everything has an underlying root cause. We've worked with these issues many, many times over the last 20 plus years. And again, there's an answer for sure. So thank you so much. I'm going to be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing weekend.